Now, when I put money down on you to do that front flip, I was not expecting a double backflip. The best way to bet the NFL is win totals. In this win projection series, you will get to see the logic behind Big Ryan the Fat Guy's win total projections and how you can win whatever contest you decide to enter for the 2018 NFL season. In 2017, the Denver Broncos went 5-11. Fat Guy, your thought on the Denver Broncos in 2017?
I thought poor coaching hire. Vance Joseph looked out of time and out of touch.
Yeah, 1 year, 5-11.
Yeah, they just didn't look very good. I mean, they're trying to blame it on the quarterback position. Yeah, quarterback position was a problem, but their defense looked like a shell of itself. I mean, that's kind of what happens when you fire Wade Phillips. That's a good one.
At offensive coordinator, they have Bill Musgrave. This is his first season.
Bill Musgrave is a coaching veteran. He's been in the NFL for years. I don't mind him. We're going to see what he works with. He's got Case Keenum. It's an upgrade at quarterback. They downgraded at running back, so I'm kind of curious what's going to happen with this team, especially since Vance Joseph really does look out of it, to be perfectly honest. I'm surprised he has his job.
He still has his job, and his defensive coordinator, Joe Woods, who came along with him, still has his job, so this will be his second year.
I'm not going to hold my breath on that defense. Vance Joseph was supposed to be a defensive guy, and they were really anything but. They've lost some talent. They haven't really upgraded. I think this is going to be a troublesome year for the Denver Broncos.
So it is troublesome, but they have lost Trevor Siemian, and they have added Case Keenum.
I mean, that's as good an upgrade as you can possibly get for what they wanted. There's no real other options out there. I guess I could have drafted a quarterback. I'm not really sure what the solution is. Case Keenum had an excellent year with Minnesota, but was that a one-off year? And everyone's wondering that, and we're going to find out.
Other additions include running back Royce Freeman, wide receiver Cortland Sutton. These are two rookies coming in that they're going to depend on quite heavily on their skill position players.
Royce to 5'9" Freeman. I mean, I guess he's replacing C.J. Anderson, or is it Devontae Booker? I'm not impressed with this running back grouping. I'm not sure it's going to work. I really hope Royce Freeman blows me away, and this Oregon product is really successful. Cortland Sutton sounds like a Southern realtor. We'll see how he does at wide receiver. Again, I'm not going to hold my breath or shit on the rookies for the most part. But there's also Emmanuel Sanders and Demaryius Thomas in front of him, so it's going to be tough to break in on those key moments.
They also added right tackle Jared Veldheer.
Jared, the former Hulk Veldheer, out of Oakland and Arizona. I mean, that's probably going to give this O-line a little bit of a boost because it's been so poor in previous seasons.
Another addition, which was a big surprise in the draft, was they were able to get defensive end Bradley Chubb.
Yeah, I'm kind of jacked on this one. I think the Browns should have taken him, to be perfectly honest. This should fit in nicely with the defense, to be perfectly honest. I mean, McDonald and Woods, they have a lot to work with in the front seven. Adding Bradley Chubb should definitely expound on that. The Broncos, they should be able to get after the quarterback. They should be able to.
They also added in defensive tackle Clinton McDonald.
Clinton McDonald, just your run-of-the-mill veteran. He's going to get some snaps, but not too many.
At cornerback, they added Tremaine Brock.
Another veteran, going to play some snaps. I mean, they have to replace some of the Aqib Talib snaps they're going to lose that went to the Rams. So we'll see how it works out.
At safety, they added Su'a Cravens.
Yeah, this guy's a little unstable, let's say. He said that he was going blind because of concussions and he had to wear these special glasses. That turned out to be complete bullshit. He went AWOL with the Redskins on multiple occasions. He's just a really strange guy. He was a safety linebacker hybrid, kind of like Dejon Buchanan. I'd be surprised if he really turns in a meaningful season, because realistically, like, what do you expect from somebody that's, I know, so unstable is one way of putting it.
And maybe your favorite addition to this team, he might kick the ball the entire length of the field every time he gets a chance. It's punter Marquette King.
In this altitude, that punter, whoo! You can see some dancing too, which is probably not a good thing, but Marquette King should fit well in this team, as long as he keeps his excessive celebration penalties to a minimum.
So for notable players that they lost, at quarterback it was Trevor Siemian, as well as they lost their backup Brock Osweiler.
Oh, they lost Brock Osweiler. Oh no, whoop-de-doo, Basil. Trevor Siemian, they lost him as well, but I mean, they upgraded. They got Case Keenum, so this is all good.
They took their best running back off the roster with C.J. Anderson.
I don't know why they didn't like him. I sure as hell did, but he's gone.
And at cornerback, one of the most important players on that team, Aqib Talib.
The guy likes to exchange lost gold necklaces in at the pawn shop in Denver. They're going to have to find a new client. Aqib Talib, the chain snatcher, He's on his way to the LA Rams.
Let's take a look at the roster. They have Case Keenum and Paxton Lynch as his backup.
Paxton Lynch has never materialized, and they keep having to say, oh, we're not giving up on Paxton Lynch. Well, yeah, you kind of are. He's not that good. He just really was never cut out to be an NFL quarterback, it seems. I hope I'm wrong for that young man, but he hasn't shown anything whatsoever. Chad Kelly was a 7th round. Chad Kelly, a relation of Hall of Fame quarterback Jim Kelly, is a 7th round draft pick from, I believe, 2 years ago. He hasn't really seen the field, so I don't really have an opinion one way or another. But my guess is he can't be worse than Paxton Lynch, so he'll probably be the backup.
At running back, they have Devontae Booker, rookie Royce Freeman, last year's preseason standout D'Angelo Henderson, as well as a 7th round pick in David Williams.
I really think Henderson's probably the best out of this bunch, but this is a really, really weak grouping of the weakest running back classes in the entire NFL.
At receiver, Demaryius Thomas, Emmanuel Sanders, rookie Cortland Sutton, tiny receiver Isaiah McKenzie. Not much else here.
McKenzie, the returner?
Yes.
Yeah. We saw how that went. He was lights out in preseason and in training camp, and then he fumbled the ball, as they say in the league, multiple occasions. It turned out to be a complete nightmare on special teams. I'm sure you can't do that much worse, and he does have some talent, so maybe he'll get better in the return game. Sanders and Thomas are perennial professionals. I always feel like Thomas gets a little bit worse every year and Sanders gets a little bit better. Maybe Sutton can carve out a role behind the aging duo in front of him, but I'm not going to hold my breath.
On the offensive line from left to right, Garrett Bowles, Ronald Leary, Matt Paradis, Connor McGovern, and Jared Veldheer, as well as other notable names such as Max Garcia, Billy Turner, and Menelik Watson, who has had one of the worst NFL career starts I can think of, coming from Oakland as a 2nd round pick out of England. Usually you kind of miss the nuances of American football if your version of football uses entirely your feet rather than your hands. So yeah, Menelik Watson isn't going to add much. But there are some upgrades that you've mentioned. Garrett Bowles, I found, had stone feet in college, but he played okay last year. Max Garcia and Billy Turner as backups. I guess so. Ronald Leary, though, that's a good one. He's a perennial starter for the Dallas Cowboys. That's a good place to come from if you're going to sign. Matt Paradis kind of played well at center a little bit in the last 2 years. Jared Veldheer, I mentioned before Jared Veldheer. When he turned into the Hulk, he had a couple good seasons in Arizona, so this should be a little bit of an upgrade. And I don't really have much of an opinion on Connor McGovern. He played snaps last year, but again, I'm not sure. This is kind of a revamped unit, but it looks better than last year, let's say. So on the interior defensive line, they have Derek Wolfe, D'Amato Pecco, Adam Gotsis, Zach Kerr, Bradley Chubb, who might play on the outside, might play on the inside, not sure quite yet. Otherwise, Clinton McDonald is probably the only other notable name.
That's still a decent grouping. It's not the right home about, but you should be able to get some pressure and at least stuff to run a little bit with that group. It's not so bad. It's not necessarily a strength, but it certainly isn't a weakness.
On the outside, they still have Von Miller and Shaquille Barrett, as well as Shane Ray.
Well, any grouping that has Von Miller in it is a nightmare for the opposing team. I'm curious how Chubb fits into this. I like Shaq Barrett. Shane Ray has been disappointing, even as a situational rusher. His 5th-year option wasn't picked up, so that should give you an idea what they think about his play so far in the league. With Von Miller headlining this group, it is strong.
And at inside linebacker, they have Brandon Marshall and Todd Davis.
They're notable veterans, but I'm not as high on them as other people. I mean, they are capable in pretty much every facet, but again, they're not really a strength and they're not really a weakness. This is maybe an average grouping to me.
At cornerback, it's highlighted by Chris Harris, Bradley Roby, and Tremaine Brock.
Now this is strong. Chris Harris Jr., Bradley Roby, a first-round pick, a few years removed. I guess he's kind of going to settle into a Aqib Talib's role. And then you also have Tremaine Brock, who could play that role as well. I mean, the three of them, that's a pretty good combo as far as the league goes. So they should be able to shut down receivers a little bit, especially if you get a pass rush. I'm just really worried about coaching because they have a pass rush, they have a good corner grouping. So in theory, this defense should be good.
And two of my more favorite safeties in Darian Stewart and Justin Simmons. And Justin Simmons was quite a nice surprise last year stepping in for TJ Ward.
Well, they cut TJ Ward and we were all surprised. And then we go, well, who's this Justin Simmons guy? And he jumped in and I think he was better. And less of a liability too, because TJ Ward is maybe the biggest hitter in the NFL. And it can be a little bit dangerous at times. I like that style, but the referees certainly don't. So it can hurt your team in critical moments. Darian Stewart is also a good safety. So this secondary as a whole is pretty good. And they have a pass rush, but the coaching really just brings it down for me. I hope Vance McDonald turns into Bum Phillips and ends up running an awesome defensive unit, but I'm not holding my breath.
Don't hold it for too long. Roster strength?
Defense as a whole, I would have to say. Well, pass rush and secondary, as I mentioned earlier. Those are really the strengths of this Broncos team.
Roster weakness?
Running back. This is like a brutal grouping. Tight end's not very good either. Offensive line isn't looking too great either. So offense as a whole is probably going to be a weakness for this team.
I glossed over this earlier, but tight end is a real sore spot, similar to Dallas. Jeff Heuerman, Jake Butt, Troy Fumagalli, a 5th-round pick of this year, Matt LaCrosse. This is about as bad as it's going to get.
Peter Frankenmeyer. See, I just made up that name because he fits in with these bunch of no-names.
So for team grade, going into 2018, currently we have the Broncos rated as a C-.
C-, and this is totally hinged on their defense. That's higher than a lot of teams that you've seen earlier, but their defense really is that good. But the coaching is so terrible that it's hard to give it merit as a C-, but it is that.
For projected wins, we have them at 7.8 with their schedule. The over-under is set at 7.5, so only a 0.3 difference. Fat Guy, is this a bet or no bet?
It's a no bet.
Hit the like button if you agree with Big Ryan the Fat Guy. Give us a comment below if you think I'm stupid or if you'd like to guess the Fat Guy's weight. Subscribe for more non sequiturs and NFL projections.